Hi, welcome to the podcast. This is the new series, Soulful Truth with Celine. We have a very special guest with us today, Stephen. He is one of my close friends, and he's also a truther. He's going to talk a bit about his spiritual awakening experience and how that led into being targeted and having to fight for his children and his sanity, and what he's up to nowadays with what he's exposing. So I will bring him on. Hello.
All right.
So do you want to tell us how you got started then, how your journey began? And
yeah. Basically, I got evicted out of my flat, and at the time it was down as I had mental illness, and when I was living at my mum and dad's when I was younger, it caused a lot of issues. Obviously, now as a fully grown bloke, I could recognise that if I was staying at my mum and dad's, they were 60-odd-year-old at that point. You know what I mean? And they didn't deserve that shit because I couldn't guarantee that it wouldn't be happening, that I wouldn't be triggered and end up punching a hole in the door or something like that. So I chose to instead sleep rough. Now, my mum turned around and she said to me, make sure, promise me on my life that you won't sleep on the streets. Because I told her I'm sleeping at a friend's. And I just thought, right, well, I can't not do what she's going to know. And I don't want her to be worrying. So I was like, look, so I swore on life that I wouldn't. And I thought, right, I'm in a predicament now. Like fucking Clifton Park. That isn't the streets, it's a park. So I said Clifton Park on lights on floor behind edges, so all hidden away. Just me and a sleeping bag that a friend gave me. Middle of November, one night pissing it down with rain, absolutely soaked to the skin. And I woke up, I went down into a bus station because I used to work there doing security. So they let me just chill out on the bus stands like. So my mates were going to be awake, so I could go around there and get warm inside. But while I was sat there freezing my ass off, it was like soaking wet. It was like something just clicked, and everything was being answered. All the questions that I knew that I was asking, there were answers there for him. Even questions I didn't know I was asking, there was answers there for him. And I just started seeing everything for how it is. I started seeing through all the lies. I started seeing links joining that were linking events and cause and consequence and everything else. And it was all just going together like a big jigsaw.
Yeah.
And I sat there, mate, just manically laughing. I didn't feel cold. And it was mad. And the only way I could explain it to people, because it was about the time the fucking Matrix were out. You know what I mean? And just to make it sound even more crazy to people, that was the only way I could really fucking explain it. And well, the thing is, back then, we didn't know what was happening to us. It didn't happen to many people. It was a very solitary thing. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have all social media. There wasn't information really about anything like that on the internet. We didn't have all YouTube, fucking people speaking on YouTube about this sort of shit. And we didn't have a clue what was going on. All we knew was it's happening to me, and I don't know any other fucker it's happening to.
Yeah.
We didn't
that's how I was.
This is the thing, we didn't know if we were actually crazy or not. All we had to go with was our intuition and learn to read it.
Yeah.
And so what I started doing, I turned into one of those crazy people, as people define them as, that go through the streets ranting to themselves and that. You know what I mean? But the idea was, if people listened to what I was ranting about, it was giving people these links that I could see and linking them together in front of them about these various different things. And I was trying to sow seeds in the head so that they go, you know what? It actually does make sense. And then they start thinking, you know what I mean, and start spreading it a bit. But I used to do it everywhere I went, whether it were in the streets, council building, tax office, in supermarkets. Best one was public transport. Once everybody started with hands-free shit, that was brilliant, because you just make out you have a conversation with someone on phone and everybody's got no choice but to listen to you. It's on the bus. You know what I mean? But it was one day, it was pissing it down with rain. And I used to always meet my mum at Robin Bus Station. We used to go and have a burger, have a cuppa and that. And then he used to go and get me a bit of shopping from Tesco's back in about 2004. I was about mid-20s, something like that. And this one day, she asked if I could meet her outside W.H. Smith because she had some shopping to do. You think, oh, all right, set off. Walks up Fitzy Road, up from my house. Got to where the library used to be, and there were a guy stood opposite, black suit, white tie, white shirt, black tie, earpiece, which I just passed off as one of them Bluetooth things because they'd just come out, and black shades. Now, bear in mind, it was pissing it down with rain. So I didn't initially think anything. You know what I mean? I just thought, what a knobhead wearing fucking shades in this weather. You know what I mean? We're about 6'4", quite stocky with his arms like behind his back like that. So obviously I didn't voice that thought. But I went the shortest way now, as you know, because you live in the market straight opposite the library. And I walked straight opposite, down the steps, down to the bottom entrance, the fastest way you can go. No word of a lie. The same guy was stood at that bottom entrance of the market, same position, arms behind his back, just stood like that. And that gave me heebie-jeebies a bit because
I can imagine.
You know what I mean? The only way it was explainable was twins. But who the fuck were they? Because, as you know, security guards around here don't dress like that. It's not fucking no Harrods around here. You know what I mean? No Secret Service fucking looking people. Stop people nicking something from fucking B&M. And so I started getting heebie-jeebies a bit. So I took the shortest route to W.H. Smith, which, as you know, is you just go up a bit and then down that alley. And it a massive bit, which I did straight down bottom. Boom, same guy outside W.H. Smith. I wanted to walk past him. I wanted to know if he was going to say something, you know what I mean? So I walked past him, walked straight to W.H. Smith. He didn't say anything. Same as other two places, he just stood there for him. Yeah, I stood behind bookshelf looking through books, making it look like I was browsing. Absolutely crapping this end. You know what I mean? This day and age, like how I am now, age I am now, I'd say something to him. But back then, I was practically a kid. I don't care what people say. You're not an adult at 18. You're not an adult at 21. You know what? You're not an adult till you turn about fucking mid-30s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? End of. And so obviously I felt quite intimidated by this happening. And my mum was there, and I go, look, was anybody here when you got here? No one here when I got here. I couldn't explain it, but the only way I could really explain it would have been clones.
Yeah.
But back then, that was a crazy thought. That wasn't possible. That's fucking sci-fi. You're believing in things that don't exist, and you'd be carted straight off to fucking loony bin. You know what I mean? And so, without using that as an explanation, it was unexplainable. But the only other explanation that I could get is that I've hit something that I've been ranting about that's been heard and noticed, whatever it is, and they don't like it. And they've basically just tried to scare my mouth shut, and they fucking succeeded. You know what I mean? I'm not ashamed to say they fucking succeeded. And my way around this, because as I'm going to mention in a bit, as an adult, I've got diagnosed with Asperger's. Now, as people probably know, it's very hard for people with Asperger's to bite the tongues. We've got something to say, and we feel we need to say it. It has to be said, no matter who it's to, no matter who it might offend. We can't, you know what I mean? The only way that I could see that I could stop this happening again was by taking ridiculous amounts of drugs, because that way it disrupted my thought pattern. I couldn't concentrate properly, and if I can't concentrate properly, I can't link things together. I can't speak about what I'm linking together. Can't speak about what I'm linking together, then I'm not going to have no fucking weird fucking men in black people fucking following me about Rotherham Town Centre. You know what I mean? So I spent years and years and years in that scene, absolutely up in clouds. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I had a golden rule: I was never to touch smack, which I kept to. But it's
Yeah.
like everything else, even some people I hadn't heard of. You know what I mean? It was going to legal raves and stuff, and I was constantly off my pickle for that reason. But then I found out I was going to be a dad, and so it was time to can't do that anymore. Time to grow
Yeah.
up. Time to he's gone. Time to prepare for being a dad. So stop taking them all. Started slowly coming back. Started off with medications, just some light stuff and that. But it really started when I set up a group on Facebook, and in the space of about 4 months, it was like a truth group and a spiritual group,
Yeah.
and it was obvious with title. You know, I mean, I didn't hide what it was, and it was 2016, and I've been given a new. Oh, sorry, it was 2016. It attracted something like 45,000 people from all around the world within about 4 months or something.
Wow.
And at this point, I was setting this up. I'd started seeing this new psychiatric consultant, name of Doctor Impey. I
Impy.
shit you not. He come through on the letter. Got an appointment to see psychiatric consultant Doctor A Impey, or it J, can't remember. But Doctor Impey. I just thought, are you taking the fucking? You know what I mean? What the fuck is an imp? It's a mythological creature that fucking meddles around with people and the plans and shit like that and makes a general nuisance of himself. I've come onto social media with all these truths. I'm getting a wide audience of fucking 45,000 people, and all of a sudden I've got a fucking psychiatric consultant called Dr. fucking Impey. Who, true to say, he lived up to his name. You know what I mean? But if you remember, I said about how that expert said that he couldn't put me on. I don't know if I did say about it, but he couldn't put me on antipsychotics because it make me worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you haven't said it to everyone
No,
else. You said it to me.
that's the thing, for anybody watching, I thought we'd already started, but we hadn't, so I'd already done 20 minutes. You know what I mean?
I was like,
And
I
now I
think
don't
we
know.
need to
Now I
stop
don't know
you.
what I've covered and what I haven't. What I said in other ones I haven't said yet. Have I not even done the expert psychiatrist bit yet?
No, not all of it.
I'll get back many years now. Back to the 2004. Not long after that, with the Men in Black experience, they got me seeing an expert. Long story short, I didn't know he was an expert at the time, but there'd always been friction between me and mental health services because. Apologies if there's anyone out there that is a psychiatrist or anything, but in my experience, majority of them are book reading muppets that haven't got a clue, and it
Yeah.
stands out a mile. I don't like that. I like psychiatrists that, well, like it. If I'll tell you why I ended up trusting this. Well, I didn't know he was an expert at the time. Why I ended up trusting this psychiatric consultant? Because first meeting that I had with him, we were in there, and he's like, blah blah blah, and he goes, "Have you got any questions?" And I was like, that's nice to be asked. I'm not usually asked that about you guys. You know, I mean, he was Irish as well, quite old, close to retiring. And I was like, yeah, I've got a question for you. Because for people who didn't know, the thing with like when often with people with Asperger's, they have something that the brain's wired up different that ends up being what people call a gift. but depending on what it is, really defines whether it's a gift or not. But unfortunately, the one that mine's wired up differently is I've got a ridiculous natural understanding of how psychology works. And so hence why there was so much friction between me and the mental health services. I made about 3 of them quit the jobs. You know what I mean? It was like, do you mind me rambling about stuff like this?
No.
It was like, there was one example, many years later, it went all shit happened with social services and that. Just an example of what I did to make them quit the jobs and things like that, and how simple it was to get in their heads. It were the only time I'd seen him was when it was with the social services, and he was my mental health representative. But the first time I saw him when he were on his own, it were like kind of a stereotypical black guy, proper, very bubbly, very, you know what I mean, very nice guy, very good vibes, you know what I mean. But I was very defensive when it came to mental health services because I know how much damage they can cause people. And knocked on the door, he comes in and he's, how are you feeling today then, Stephen? I'm like, well, if you're asking how's my kind of mental capacity, my mental makeup, if you like, compared to the rest of the collective majority, then I'm batshit crazy, mate. And he goes, but I'm not talking about the rest of the majority. I'm talking about you. I'm, no, but you are talking about the rest of the majority, though, aren't you? He goes, how am I? I'm like, right. An example. I goes, at the time, I think it was 6 billion people in the world. You know what I mean? I goes, right, 6 billion people in the world, yeah. Say there's 1 million out of them 6 billion and they hear voices. The only reason that that's a negative thing is because it's the minority.
Yeah.
I goes, if instead of them minority hearing these voices, it was the majority, and there were 7 billion people that all heard voices in their heads that spoke to them and shit like that, then you wouldn't be giving people that heard voices tablets to stop them. You'd be giving people tablets that didn't hear voices to make them hear the voices like everybody else does.
Yeah.
So it is about the collective majority. And he just sat there and he was just like, I can't argue with that. I'm like, I know you can't. That's why I said it. But then he turned around and he goes, but what does it mean? I goes, what it means, mate, is your job's a fucking lie. And he just sat there and he's like, pondered it and carried on chatting. But 3-4 days later, he was supposed to have been my new my first, if you like, CPN, psychiatric nurse.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call saying he's no longer working there. He's left. They've got me someone new. So
Because he believed you and he wasn't going to tag you with the mental health card.
exactly, because he could see I was speaking sense and that I wasn't some mental insane fucking. I was just very.
Yeah.
And that's an example of why there was friction with me in mental health services. But when I saw this expert, well, I didn't know an expert till later on. He said after the first couple of meetings, he basically said to me, "Look, I'm right pleased there doesn't seem to be friction with you and mental health services anymore. But the reason that I started trusting him for that strict friction to end is because when he asked if I had any questions, I turned around and I said, where do you think you've learned most about the job that you do?" Now, majority of them would be university, such and such mental hospital, such and such. But he turned around and he went, from a patient's. And as soon as he said that, I was like, right, I can trust you.
Yeah.
You're talking from source. You're not talking from some lecturer at university and his opinion or a book of somebody else's opinion. You're talking from source.
Yeah.
And that stopped that friction. So we had this conversation. I explained to him how it feels like I don't have any limit to my depth of thought. It's like it just keeps. But at the time, I could kind of control it. It was hard, but I could send myself into that depth of thought, but then stop it which I
Yeah.
can't anymore. It's constantly there now, but I could stop it. And that comes in something else I'm going to talk about in a sec. But he turns around and I'm having a big chat with him about all the mind control techniques that are used all throughout society that people don't even see happening. Things like that,
Mm.
life, death, everything in between. Uh, what I believe our being is on this planet, etc., etc., etc. Getting really, really in depth into things, and he basically turns around and he goes, "I'm going to stop you there, Stephen." He goes, "I can't keep up with you." He goes, "If you knew how much I have spent doing courses on how to unlock my mind so that I can get deeper into things and get the cause and consequence and see how it links together and what can come from that." And because that's a psychiatrist's job, to go deep into a patient's issues in life and experiences and the cause and consequence, etc., etc., so you can get to the roots of the issue.
Yeah.
The roots, you can help the patient. He goes, "But you seem to do it without trying." It goes, "You're just going and 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 going. And I'm trying, but I can't keep up with you anymore. I can't argue anything you've said. You know what I mean? I can't argue any of that." He goes, "I can't help you per se, because if you can't help yourself, then I can't help you."
Yeah.
Which people might think is a shitty thing for a psychiatrist to say, but he was bang on. He
Yeah.
really was bang on. I've ended up helping myself. He was bang on.
I
You
was
know,
the same. Yeah, I had to help myself. There's no
and
one
to
else.
me, that is a good psychiatrist. He reckon, and like I say, it turns out he's an expert in, and when I researched later on. But he turned around to me because at the time I'd started just learning how to make simple songs, but it was all about usual bullshit with loneliness, fucking depression, heartbreak, all shit everybody
Mm.
writes about. And he just turned around to me at the end of the meeting after saying he wanted to take my case personally. He turned around to me at the end of the meeting and he just turns around and he goes, "Can I ask you a question?" It's kind of like your job to do so. So, you know what I mean? And he just goes, "If you could do anything in this world at the switch of a button, what would it be?" And I was like, "It's a bit of a fucking strange question. Someone like me after this conversation we've had, you know what I mean?" And I was like, "Anything." You're like, "Yeah, anything." I thought, right. Well, with what I've already talked to you about, people have been sectioned for talking about far less. And I'm still sat here. I've not been shown to my room. Fuck it, let's go full hog. You know what I mean? And I goes, right. Well, you know how I've been talking to you about all these brain control techniques that we use and everything that people don't see. I goes, basically, I want to be able to change my lyrical direction to be able to write about these things in my lyrics, to use the same tools to deprogram as have been used to program them, because that's the thing with music. It uses repetitive affirmation. That's why they use it as a weapon against us. It uses repetitive affirmation, which is the same way that you deprogram people, but you have to switch it so it's the truth rather than, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And, I goes basically, I want to use my music to deprogram people en masse. And I goes, I basically want to do my part to change the world. And at this point, and I'm sure you can imagine, I'm expecting him to go, right, well, your room is a 263. Come along in a second to show you around. You know what I mean? And I was really expecting that. And he just turned around. This is no word of a lie. It took me about 2 weeks to get my head around it. He just turned around, looked me straight in the eyes, and just goes, "Anybody can do it. You can do it."
That's amazing.
And I was like, "Nah, nah, 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 nah." And the people like you,
Yeah.
don't say shit like that to people like me. What the fuck's going on here? And it was many, many, many years later I came to realise, obviously with the the first mass awakening in 2016, that this, what had happened to me, happens to other people,
Yeah.
and he was likely one of us, and he gave me the belief in myself that I wasn't crazy,
Yeah,
There
that's
was
really
something
good.
special with the way that I'm thinking.
Mm,
It's more special than the way he thinks. And as I found out later, he's an expert at fucking psychology. I've had no training except for life. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And but he ended up next meeting I went to. He were not in a good mood, and he basically been told by the people above him that he's got to change jobs. I remember it might not be right, but I remember it as being ward and home visits, which were two sections that I didn't have access to.
yeah,
And so they took him from me. And I was seeing all idiots. And
yeah.
then we get to where I left, I believe, which was the many years later, the new Dr. Impey. Total opposite of the other one.
Yeah,
And I don't like mentioning his name because if he is still alive or whatever, I don't want him to be fucking targeted. You know what I mean? But total opposite. But when I first saw him, I was already on guard because of his name. But he kind of tried to mimic how Dr. Coates was with me. You know what I mean? But he underestimated my psychological understanding, as it turned out, which the bad ones always do, because they think, oh, he hasn't got qualifications. Whereas Dr. Coates didn't, you know what I mean? He let me know I've got something.
yeah,
Um, First meeting with Dr. Impey, I'm explaining to him about all the esoterical meanings and imagery that's used around societies and in films and TV, etc., etc., etc. That a lot of people don't notice. And if you say that you see messages in films, you're crazy, you're delusional, you need tablets, you need. And it's not. They're there.
mm,
You know what I mean? And this is what first made me. Well, apart from his name, this is what first made me really put my guard up with him. He turned round at the end of the meeting and asked me if I've ever seen the film called Inception, and then told me to go and watch it because it goes ridiculously in depth, and I think you'll understand what it's trying to say. And the way that I took it after watching it was that it was a threat
yeah.
to
It
basically
does
say,
sound like it.
back the fuck off. Long story short, again, it was shortly after the birth of my first son, when I was still with their mother. I was suffering a lot from sleep deprivation, which was causing mild hallucinations because I was getting up and doing a paper round every morning so we could afford to take kids on holiday. Well, the child, because Kurt wasn't there at that point.
Yeah,
Um, he straight away started putting me on antipsychotics, which they turned me psychotic. You know what I mean? I thought I started thinking everyone fucking planning against me, my friends, my family. I didn't trust no one. Fucking, she ended up breaking up with me. My friends ended up fucking all disappearing. Majority of them, so I've still got some true ones that I've stayed around, but most of them ended up disappearing. And all he was interested in, really, was how many members were in my group. And it was this interest of how many members were in my group that made me suspect it was all linked together.
mm,
And it was being done to silence me. Now, not long after I started seeing this Dr. Impey, I got a message. And again, I know how crazy this sounds when I say it, but I swear, you know what I mean? I got this message through on Messenger. This was like 2016. Now, back in 2016, as you probably remember, you couldn't delete Messenger messages. They were
yeah,
there. You couldn't delete them. You couldn't delete the thread, the conversation. You know what I mean? And I got a
yeah,
message come through, and it said there was no picture out, but it said it's been noticed in such a extraordinarily short amount of time the unusually large amount of numbers you managed to attract to your group. So it was like nearly 50,000 in 4 months
yeah,
around the world. And it was blatant what the group were about because it was called empaths, truth seekers, fucking, I mean, it blatantly obvious what it were about. And I replied, and I was like, although it's a very, would you like to know have I said that bit?
No.
Like, this is the damage that all the meds to put me on caused. Basically, this message come through, and it said it's been noticed. Sorry, I'm screaming about go again. It's been noticed how fast you've attracted these numbers to your group in such a short time. Would you like to know how to turn these numbers into cold, hard cash? And I was like, at this point, social services have just started getting involved because I shouted at my kids for trying to run across a busy road. So I was thinking if this ends up going to court, this money could be useful.
Yeah.
But it defeats the whole purpose of why I set the group up in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I sent a polite message back saying, although I could really do with the cash, thank you for the offer. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to turn you down on this. Thank you anyway. Hope you have a nice day. I explained that it basically contradicts the whole reason why I set the group up in the first place.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. Bye. And I'm sat there and I'm pondering it and I'm like, it's not that message again. The message is gone. And I'm like, you can't delete messages. And I know I had a message. I know I'm not fucking losing it. You know what I mean? And about half an hour later, and this is where it starts to sound crazy. But I've never before had a video message sent to my phone. It made a weird noise alert noise that I've never heard before. Cause I've never had a video message sent to my phone. It wasn't the same as ringtone. There's my message tone. And what the fuck's this? It was like withheld number. There was no number on it. Opened it up. Now shit you not. The black screen, on corner, left hand side, top corner, there was a bright red eyeball. And underneath the eyeball, it looked like wrinkly skin.
Oh.
Shit myself.
I bet you did.
You know what I mean? I dropped exited, dropped my phone, and I'm sat there. I'm like, what's fucking going on here? What was that message they just sent me that I've just turned down? What the fuck have I started now? You know what I mean? I've already had them fucking men in black fucking dickheads. What's going to happen now? I'm very excited for my kids for shouting at them, for trying to run across a busy road. What the fuck am I getting myself into? And for picks it up, went to open message again because it said it was still there. As soon as I went to open it, boop, disappeared. So it was like it had been sent so that if I tried to show anybody it,
Yeah.
it'd make me look crazy because it just disappear.
Yeah.
And not all that long after that, to be fair, was when I had the black Mercedes V-Class incident, which was a strange one. Because for anybody that doesn't know, Mercedes V-Class, they're them ones with fucking big screens and fucking drinks things and shit all in back. They're like $500,000 second-hand, 500 grand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're fucking next level. And I lived in a rough council estate. You don't get them around these areas. Don't happen.
No.
You know what I mean?
I don't think I've seen one round there.
You know what I mean? I was in the house and I was like, I wasn't hungry, but something was telling me to go to takeaway at top of the road that you can see our road from. And I don't usually use it because it looks like a very horrible place, but it was that takeaway and that takeaway only. So I went up there. I ignored the one to right, that's it left of me that's right nice, and I went to this danky one, ordered something, and as I was stood there having a cig, I didn't until I did research and like looked for the van online afterwards and found out it was one of those vans. I didn't know. I just knew it was a big black Mercedes van with blacked out windows parked at the top of my road that pulled up. open doors. I was like kind of stood behind it outside the takeaway, having a cig. Fuck. One of the doors were open and I could see feet at the other side, like from under the thing. The lights turned off. I took a photograph of it and I took a photo of the lights turned off. Didn't see how it called me for my takeaway. I went for my takeaway and then went in the shop next door, so I had an excuse to go a bit further that way. So I crossed to the other side of the road and have a nap as I walked past.
Yeah.
I did. All I saw when I saw feet were like black trousers and black shoes. And I walked past, took a photo of it, and that there was no one in that van. Went down to my house, which is like about 5 doors down from where the van was.
Yeah.
Front door were wide open. The dog that I'd just rescued, that we had arranged to stay, bless him, because he'd been proper starved, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When door were open, went bolting out, just sat on his dog bed, just looking right confused. Back doors wide open, front doors wide open, and the dog's just sat there like that. And I'm like, what the fuck? I went in, put my food down, grabbed a chip out of it, went to the front door, poked my head out, van had gone.
That's madness. Do you not think they planted anything in the house, like bugs or something?
I don't know, I didn't stay there very long after.
Oh, is it not in this house?
Now that were in one before this.
Oh.
Luckily, blessings in disguise and all that, the powers work in mysterious ways. I got evicted
Mm.
for having a dog. So,
Oh well, it's good job it's not in that one then.
very head fucking.
I can
Yeah,
imagine.
Dr. Impey. Go back to him now. He basically, when I lost everything, I'd lost my fiance, kid's mother, I'd lost most of my friends, and then all that happened with social services and took my kids. Oh yeah, back to that, and took my kids from me. Now the thing is, they said, because I was struggling at the time, I admit, because I was close to having a nervous breakdown. Not only is she just broke up with me, I found out my best friend had died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I hadn't seen for about 3 years because he went on a path that I wasn't going to follow him on. And I wasn't in a good state, admittedly. But they said to me, it'll be you can't see your kids for 31 days maximum while we get your family support. Which obviously it hurt, but it's like, I do need help. So that's what I thought I was going to be getting.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks later, I went in for me meeting with Dr. Impey, and we're discussing shit. And we both agreed that the only thing at that point negatively affecting my mental health was not seeing my kids.
Yeah.
So I goes to him, well, would you be able to write a letter to social services explaining this to them? He turned around and he goes, oh, your kids aren't my concern. It's just your mental health is my concern, so I can't do that. And I sat there and I'm just thinking things through. Meeting ended. I walked out and I was like, oh, mate, that's fucking backwards.
Yeah.
I walked straight back in his room and I goes, here, you're going to write that letter to social services. I'll tell you why. Because you've just agreed with me. The only thing negatively affecting my mental health is not being with my children. So therefore, they will know that when I'm with my children, my mental health is not a concern.
Yeah.
So therefore, if I'm seeing my children, if you write that letter, then that will improve my mental health. So you have got to write that letter if your only concern is about my mental health.
Yeah.
He wrote a letter, all right? What the letter said was, the only thing negatively affecting Stephen's mental health is not seeing his children. The longer he is kept from them, the worse his mental health is becoming. So, those 31 days maximum, well, got my family support turned into 4 months without seeing my kids whatsoever. Well, they knew the longer I wasn't seeing them, the worse my mental health was becoming.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
They knew. The social
Yeah.
services took someone that's registered as having mental illness and deliberately manipulated my mental illness to become really, really, really severe. So that, like, we were sat when the first meeting I went to, I have people that kind of underestimate my intelligence a lot because I'm not academic. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But like I say, when it comes to psychology, and sat in a room with them all with this first meeting. I walked in, they all introduced themselves. I'm such and such, head of such and such. I'm such and such, psychiatric representative. I'm such and such, social worker. Hi, I'm Steve. You know what I mean? Sat down and I just turned around and I told her, I don't know exactly what you've done. I don't know exactly what you've done. I goes, everything I'm about to say, you're not going to give any credit whatsoever because I have no letters by my name. And that is the only reason. I turned around to the psychiatric representative. I goes, do you know that? And they said his name then. But they who turned out an expert. I goes, you know, such and such. He's like, yeah. Wow, right. Well, he told me when I was seeing that I know his job better than he does. So if I know his job better than he does, I certainly know your job better than you fucking do. And I turn around and I goes, I'm not being funny, but if I was sat where you're sat with that little badge around my neck, every single one of you would listen to every word I had to say and give it credit, wouldn't you? And every single one of them said, yeah.
Yeah.
I turn around and I goes, you know for a fact that when you separated me from my children, it should have been for what you said at the very maximum 31 days because of parent alienation, the effects on children, etc., etc. You
Yeah.
knew you shouldn't have took 4 months, didn't you? And every single one of them, one by one, said, yeah, we knew it shouldn't. Yeah, we knew it shouldn't. Yeah, we knew it shouldn't. But then you couldn't do a damn fucking thing about it.
Yeah.
They blazingly, cockily said, yeah, we knew it shouldn't. We knew we shouldn't. Basically admitted they knew they were deliberately worsening my mental health. So at the end of that meeting, they could turn around and say, well, you can't see your children unsupervised because we're too concerned about your mental health that they fucked up in the first place.
Yeah.
It then took over 3 years battling. It resulted in they kept trying to basically use me refusing to take all those antipsychotics and shit Dr. Impey was prescribing that were fucking me up so much that wouldn't see my kids basically been took from me permanently if I had to keep taking them, and
Yeah.
started using my kids to try and get me to start taking them again so they could carry on basically chemically lobotomizing me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're refusing medication, so therefore you're refusing help, so therefore you're putting your children at risk. No, I'd be putting them at risk if I fucking had that shit. And he had issues with me smoking bud as well. And that were another meeting. They were, again, psychiatric representative. This was with first social worker. And we were in that meeting. And they were on about my cannabis use and that, and their concerns, blah, blah, blah. I go, look, and I know I probably smoke it too much, but I don't when kids are here. I use it medicinally. And
Yeah.
the first social worker, she actually turned around because she was a really good first one and took her straight off. But she was ready to
You
try
did.
night visits, been about 3 fucking months. Took her straight off the fucking case and got one that were willing to lie. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But she turned around and she said to me, look, until I saw you with your kids, I had this image of this angry fucking, and you're nothing like that. I goes, I know I'm not. That's because they hurt me so much by taking my kids off me.
Yeah.
That is pain that you see.
Yeah.
It's not anger, it's pain. And the more pain a parent feels having their kids took away, the more they care about their children.
Yeah.
The ones you want to be worried about are the ones that stay calm. The ones that you always give them back to because they're staying calm. They're the ones you want to worry about.
Yeah.
They're the ones that haven't got any real perception of the emotions they should be feeling.
Yeah. Exactly.
You
Which
know,
contact or device do you want to call?
it's all done backwards.
Which contact or device do you want to
Stop.
call?
Yeah, it is all backwards.
And so the way that it all ended up panning out, I was proper on the verge of being where a lot of dads are that have had this battle, 6 feet under dust and bones. Because let's face it, a lot of them, mothers as well, you know what I mean? Unless people have been through it, it's a pain they can't even begin to comprehend.
Yeah.
And everybody calls people selfish that they go through it. They do end up topping themselves when they've got kids. But I'm not being funny. Unless you've been through that pain, you cannot even comprehend what that pain is like.
Yeah.
It's like the thing keeping you alive is also the thing that makes you want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
It's all your children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Having your children in your life wants to make you stay alive. But because you can't see them, it makes you want to kill yourself.
Yeah. I've often said that.
You know what I mean? It's a
I
very
think
fucking place to put someone.
Yeah, I think I'd go through my childhood all over again to not have to go through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely by far the worst.
And my last regular meeting with this doctor in Perth, after they took kids off me and everything else, I went in and I was asking him to section me because I felt I needed it. I felt I couldn't take any more. You know what I mean? I was turned around to him and I goes, look, I've lost everything. I lost my fiance, I've lost my friends, I've now lost my children. You know what he said? I don't think I need to see you anymore. So I got to the worst point I was ever going to be. You don't need help. You don't need my help. He put me there with that fucking medication.
Yeah.
So basically destroyed me using chemicals to then leave me to the fucking vultures.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Hence why I said he lived up to his fucking namesake.
Yeah.
And but obviously they haven't done the research on me that well, because it was that very thing that made me jump up off the floor and say, you are not winning this, you cunt. I know that I'd always suspected he was trying to hurt me, not help me, but I didn't have any definitive proof.
Yeah.
That gave me the definitive proof that I needed. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I was going to fucking do it. And it came about because when I were trying to deal with social services, I were obviously as well because of my Asperger's. My frustration often comes out looking like anger, which is why those social workers like that first one said I had this image of you. You know what I mean? And obviously, it always went down wrong. You know what I mean? But so I felt that I needed, like Dr. Coates used to give me something like lorazepam, which was just enough to, you know what I mean? And so Dr. Impey had said, although he said he doesn't need to see me, he was still classed as a psychiatric consultant. If I ever need any medication, to ring him. So it's blatantly obvious what you were there for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he got to the stage where I thought, you know what? I'm going to ring him. And obviously, by listening to his voice and shit, picking up on the energies and that, I'll know I already suspected what he was going to try and do. You know what I mean? So I rang him up and I explained. And he goes, oh, yeah, there's maybe an appointment. And I'm sat in the fucking waiting room and I'm like, right, I'm recording this meeting. I'm going to get this cunt admitting malpractice. I'm going to get him admitting how he's overprescribed me this medication deliberately, knowing that it can cause permanent brain damage. I'm going to get him admitting it all and record it. So I did. I got inside his head that fucking much in that meeting. And he admitted it. Meeting ended when he realised what I was doing. And got outside, phone out, played it, it recorded. I'm like, yes! Right, about 4 hours later, I had a funny feeling that something was going to happen to that recording.
Yeah.
So when I got back, I sent it to a couple of my friends on Facebook. So there was a copy somewhere. And I played it to 3 of my friends back here. And they were all like, what the fuck, Steve, you proper fucking owned him there, mate. He goes, he's literally admitted malpractice.
Yeah.
He has literally admitted to deliberately overprescribing you, knowing it can cause permanent fucking brain damage. And you've got it all recorded. You know what I mean? And I went to my mum's for my visitation. This is how concerned they were about my children's safety. They had my 70-year-old parents as the supervisors. I was this big, dangerous, angry man that they seemed to claim. What could my 70-year-old parents do?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Everything they did blatantly, just saying to me, look, we know we don't need to be doing this, but we're doing it anyway. And like I say, the only reason that I can see is everything that led up to that.
Yeah.
Because that's how they do it. That's how they use the system against people like us.
Yeah.
Put their people inside of it. Because you're about to find out when I tell you what happened after this. But basically, the psychiatric consultant rings me up while I've got a visiting with my boys, like, having a go at me over the phone. Proper screaming and shouting at one of his patients on the phone. Like, we then that bad in that meeting. And I just turned around and went, oh, and well, you might like to know I recorded that meeting with you admitting malpractice. Good luck, mate. Oh. Nah, this were a Galaxy S3. Now, if you remember with S4s, they had a thing where they kept overheating.
Oh, yeah.
Everything kind of burnt out. But the S3 wasn't actually powerful enough to do that. I had an S3. About half an hour after that phone call, SIM card got fried. Phone got fried, sorry. Literally fried.
So they must have sent something into
like basically identical to what you swapping with S4s, except it was an S3. So technically, if I hadn't sent that fucking recording, I would have no recording.
No.
I took it to a shop. I explained to them, like, look, it's fucking, oh, that often happens with S4s. I go, it's not an S4, mate, it's an S3. What? Well, that shouldn't happen. It's not powerful enough for that to happen. How's that happened? You tell me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
But yeah, it turned out, it ended up with me getting booted out of psych services and him getting moved elsewhere. To deal with next post sap that speaks too much about shit and brain doesn't work quite how they fucking wanted to.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
got loads of labels taken off as well, didn't you? Because they'd slapped a load of labels on, didn't they? And then
yeah.
turned out it was just Asperger's, wasn't it? In the
Well,
end?
the thing is, it were after all that with social services and that, because now they didn't have mental health to work with them. So they couldn't use my mental health against me because I wasn't seeing a psychiatrist. I wasn't under mental health anymore. They've been one of my old friends years ago. She used to work with severely autistic adults, and she turned around to me and she goes, "Look, Steve, I don't think it's mental illness that you've got. I think you've got Asperger's because there's some of the things that my clients do and things that trigger them and things like that so remind me of you. Maybe not as severe, but it really reminds me of you." Didn't think about it. Then I moved into this place, and next door neighbour's got a son with Asperger's, and he started laughing. Here, Steve, you remind me of our lad. Like, fucking, I don't think you've got mental health illness. I think you've got Asperger's.
Yeah.
And then another one of my friends ended up getting diagnosed with it, who we've always been quite similar in a lot of ways, but also quite different. And he said it, and I thought, right, well, you know what? I think it's time I found out. You know what I mean? And it were while social services and that were involved, but everything was starting to go better because I got a reassessment and everything else. The what were they called? called early help or something like that.
Oh, yeah, early intervention.
Right, with early help or something through social services.
Yeah.
There was someone who used to come round, but he was a musician, he played guitar, so you can imagine we got on very well. And he knew that I didn't need any help with my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I forgot where this is going now. Damage. I'll come back. Oh yeah, and I mentioned it to him, and he goes, "Well, to be honest, Stephen, I have to admit, I have been kind of thinking that myself." So he took me down to the doctors for have a word with doctor. There was somebody else there that I'm presuming was someone like an autism specialist or something. Because when they're asking me questions with my answers and how I was being, she kept smiling and laughing, like she recognised it all. You know what I mean? And they got me assessment and that. Long story short, it were blatantly obvious that it were fucking autism, blatantly. Because what they do, there's a lot of people out there that say, "Oh, everybody gets diagnosed with it these days. It's so easy." Blah, 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 blah. And they don't understand the process that it actually goes through to get that diagnosis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like with me, it starts off, and with that, when it comes to adults, it starts off, and there's a questionnaire about you as a child growing up, traits you might have had, little things that you might have done, etc., etc., etc. Did he do any of these things? Were there any smells that he was obsessed with? Or blah 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 blah. And then someone that's known you since being a baby or whatever has to fill that in, and then they can see from a child's perspective what you were like as a child, and whether as a child you had they known that Asperger's and that existed.
Yeah.
It wasn't just fully blown, what they used to call low functioning autism that existed. Would you have been sent to an assessment thinking that you got it? And obviously, if the answers from the questionnaire suggest that you would, you then get a one-to-one assessment with them.
Mm.
And they go by not only questions that you answer, but how you are when you're there, how you portray yourself, if you're showing any signs, etc., etc. And what they do, they score you. I can't remember what the thing's called, but they score you. And if I remember right, it were from 1 to 42, I think it was. And
Mm.
if you're 14 or above, that warrants another assessment.
Okay.
Then you get your diagnosis or whatever. If it doesn't, then they don't think you've got it. So on your way. I scored 39 fucking points out of 42. So
Yeah.
fair enough. The one who I found out to be an expert later on, because of the time that was, like 2004, 2005 kind of time, there wasn't that much known about it like there is now.
Yeah.
He might not have, or he might have done, but he might have been, because he, like I said, he specifically said, I cannot give you antipsychotics because they'll make you worse. So he might have, but he might not have been allowed. Even that might have been an experiment that they've done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To see what happens if somebody that's got it is treated like they've got mental illness. I hope it's possible.
Yeah. I would. Yeah. I wouldn't be
You
surprised.
know what I mean? But I can't understand. Certainly when it comes to Dr. Impey in 2000, I think it was 15, I started seeing him. 2015, 16, 17, 18. Then I think 19 was when I finished him off. Beginning 19 and 18. But certainly from them meetings, you know what I mean? How have none of them even thought, you know what? Perhaps this is why all these things that are set up to help people with the things that we've diagnosed with don't work for him.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's why. Perhaps that's why when we get him in rooms full of people that's supposed to have the same fucking illness, he doesn't cope very well. You know what I mean? There's got to be one of those professionals that has thought it isn't mental illness this guy's got.
Yeah. I think they definitely know. I think they know.
It's not like I was teetering on the edge of Warren. I'm fucking 2 points away from a perfect fucking score.
Yeah.
3 points away. You know what I mean? But obviously, as soon as I got that diagnosis, because I got evidence of how social services had played me and their mum against each other and manipulated us and everything, and I got basically got evidence of all that corruption that were involved. As soon as they found out that I'd got diagnosed with Asperger's, every single fucking one of them ran a mile. They removed the early help, they removed fucking everything because they knew that what they had done was serious fucking shit now. They can't claim I'm crazy. They can't claim that it's all in my head because I'm delusional, I'm this, I'm that. You know what I mean?
So they thought you were going to take them to court then?
Yeah, probably.
That's mad. It's not. I'd say unbelievable, but nothing's unbelievable these days with all this.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is as I'm finding out now, when I'm I've been trying to do the busking thing online with my songs, which there's a lot of truthful songs in them. It makes sense why the fucking tried to lobotomise me with them things because it's fucked up my memory somewhat chronic.
Yeah.
I've written hundreds of songs, and every time I try and get a set together, I can remember about 5. I have to go through them all again on Facebook to get it all rejogged and that, and then relearn them. Sometimes I have to rewrite the lyrics out, and that this is why I believe it's all being linked to that conversation I had with that expert about what I plan to do.
Yeah.
By doing that and affecting my memory like that with all that medication, it's made it very hard to do what it was I said I want to do.
Yeah. And causing delays as well, like having to fight social and stuff, child services.
And without courts.
Yeah. And then we fighting doctors as
Me
well.
versus them, one of the biggest gaslighting fucking efforts I've fucking ever seen.
Yeah.
And I beat the corrupt bastards. Never underestimate people.
Yeah.
Underestimation has been the downfall of the most powerful throughout history.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it when people underestimate me because it gives me the advantage.
So what's going on with you now then? Now all that's over with the kids and
All this fucking crap that's going on, innit? Trying to make people see what's fucking coming. There's always no one fucking listens. It's coming to summer now, which means there's going to be all controlled protests. Everyone's going to flock to and pretend that they're fucking making a difference when they're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said it from the beginning of the London protests when they first started. Not when they first started, when they were small and there were no fucking celebrities footing them.
Yeah.
Then I quite wanted to go. And I thought, oh yeah, that's a good thing. People are standing.
Yeah.
But then it started being like, Icky Ike, fucking, what's his face? Corbyn's fucking brother.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're going to trust the brother of a fucking politician? Really? Really? And you call yourselves woke? If you want to talk about Icky Ike, his job fucking history literally represents everything that all these woke folk claim to stand against. He was a sports star. He was a journalist. He was a politician. Do you not see what they're doing?
Yeah.
He embodies everything you claim to not trust, and you're putting ultimate trust in him. And you can't see how taking piss out of you. You know what I mean? It's unreal.
I thought that as soon as I saw that at the protest, I was like, yeah, well, there's no point in that anymore. That's completely taken over.
I told people from as soon as I saw him, I just go, shit, this ain't good. I goes, how do you stop a revolution? Simple. You take control of it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You don't stop it. You take control of it, and you lead
Yeah.
it to nowhere. That's exactly
Put
what
in
happened.
things like Q.
Mm,
Put in things like Q.
yeah. He was there telling you to question him with the fucking name, but you don't. You know what I mean? Like I keep saying, that question everything means question fucking everything. Not
Yeah.
what suits. Not what suits your current beliefs. That's no different to what they do out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything means everything. It doesn't mean just question the official narrative. It means question the alternative narratives.
Yeah.
If there's anything illogical in any of the narratives, then that isn't what's happening.
Yeah.
Logic leads you to the truth. Something's
Um,
logical. You're somewhere around where the truth is.
yeah, exactly. We'll be talking more about that next time we do a podcast, won't we? All the cult side and stuff.
Yeah,
So that definitely needs talking about because it has been hijacked,
yeah, big style.
and that's why it's not a proper awakening.
This is what a lot of them don't realise that have started since all the COVID agenda. This isn't the first time it's happened.
No.
The first time that I witnessed what I would consider a mass collective awakening was 2016, which
Yeah.
is when I think it was, you might have the other video where I explained there's two different awakenings, wasn't it? Not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's two different ones. There's what I call the conscious awakening, which is what I went through in 2004 when you start seeing. Then there's the spiritual awakening, which is when everything starts to come in alignment and you start to feel, you know yourself, you know your purpose, you know
Yeah.
your being, not your
Yeah.
body, your actual being. You know why you're here.
Yeah.
And that's the spiritual awakening. And when the two combine, this is what I believe then properly activates the third eye.
Yeah.
The energies of these two combining gets it going.
Yeah.
But the problem is, because people call it an awakening, they treat it like these people are asleep.
Yeah.
Shout at them to wake up. They're not asleep. They are fucking brainwashed.
Yeah.
You can't unbrainwash a person by shouting at them, "Don't be brainwashed!" It won't work. You know what I mean? They're not asleep. And whatever people treat it like they are, we're going to get nowhere.
Mm.
No amount of water chucked on them is going to wake them up because they're not asleep. They're just going to get extremely pissed off with you chucking water over them,
Yeah.
which is what's happening. And then they turn on you, and then you've got them offside. We need them on side. We need numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And real numbers because we're still divided right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like all this flat earth shit.
Yeah.
He's like, I've done a couple of videos like say back in 2016 was when the first mass awakening happened that I can remember, and we all took it onto Facebook, which is what triggered the second mass awakening. You know what I mean? We literally took over social media because obviously that when I had that spiritual awakening, it's all on social media. Everyone else is going through that conscious awakening. I finally
Yeah.
found out what had been happening to me all those years.
Yeah. That was when we met as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. And all of a sudden it all made sense. I got that clarity. You know what I mean? And so obviously I kind of jumped on that chain with them rather than
Yeah.
standing there on my own still. And it was that in 2016 that brought it onto social media, and we started using the weapon that they had tried to use against us, against
Yeah.
them, to wake up the masses. But we put a stop to it.
Yeah.
And
Q and Trump.
people, oh, fucking hell. That just proves what a con money is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A multi-billionaire has conned struggling people, struggling to make ends meet, that he wants what's best for them, not himself.
Yeah.
He's a billionaire for good reason. You don't become a billionaire by helping people out.
He was even bailed out by the Rothschilds in the
Yeah,
80s.
he's
He's
literally in the
own.
pockets. They bailed him out of debt. Fucking Atlantic City, a casino debt.
Yeah, yeah,
Fucking casino. A fucking business that's basically designed so that the owner cannot lose.
yeah,
And everyone, oh, he's a great businessman. He bankrupted a fucking casino. That is not the credentials of a good businessman.
no,
His father bailed him out of bankruptcy I don't know how many times. He didn't make it himself. He was given 500 million by daddy. Sorry, he was given a business worth 500 million by daddy. Probably because daddy didn't even trust him to set one up in the first fucking place because he knows what a muppet he is. And that's his own son. And people are, hey, but he's not a politician. Why is he getting involved in politics? He's a businessman. What are the
yeah,
businessman interested in? Money. Why do you think all the fucking meetings that he had, these presidential meetings, were at Mar-a-Lago? What he owns. So all the profit made from drinks, golf, caddies, rooms, guess where they went? In his own fucking pocket. All your tax money, your millions and millions and millions and millions of tax money that paid for all these presidential outings to his own fucking establishments meant that all the profit made from your tax money went straight into his fucking pocket.
yeah,
It's called tax embezzlement and it is illegal.
yeah,
It's what
exactly.
drug cartels do to hide their drugs money. But it's for the people. Yeah. He's going to save everybody. Yeah.
And
He's
that's
hunting
the
down
difference.
all the wrong uns. Yeah.
And
No.
that's the difference between the two awakenings.
This is the thing. People have got to listen to the words people use. He admitted that he's a wrong un, but people didn't even hear it when he was talking about Epstein. Oh yes, he does like his women young. In fact, he does like his women. In fact, he likes them more than me. Many of them on the younger side. Not except many of them are on the younger side, or but many of them are on the younger side. He said he likes them more than me. Many of them on the younger side. He's admitted. And none of you heard it. None of you fucking heard it. And you all believed he was saving these children, like he was running in with Superman's cape into all these fucking tunnels.
Yeah,
And half the Americans fucking think that he uncovered it all. They haven't got a clue about Jimmy Savile, where it all started.
yeah,
And that they found out that it stretched internationally, this fucking ring. But it
yeah,
started at Scotland Yard. It wasn't even in America. It started with Jimmy Savile. Scotland Yard did their investigations, found the British people that were involved, and obviously as they don't live in America, they can't deal with the American people, can they? No. So what do they have to do? They have to pass it over to America. And guess who was sat in the seat in America just at the time they passed it over? Now, bear in mind, the Rothschilds are heavily involved in this, and as we've already ascertained, the Rothschilds bailed Trump out of a casino bankruptcy to the tune of no doubt billions, or at least
yeah,
many, many, many multi-millions. Yeah, Rothschilds don't deal with small money when they're dealing by bailing people out. Yeah, and their puppet Trump just happened to be in the seat, America, just as the Scotland Yard in the UK passed over all the information about this ring, this international celebrity ring, so that they could make out that Trump was the one discovering it. So everybody think he was some sort of hero.
yeah.
There
He's
is good
going to
news
drain the swamp.
since Trump has been young, all his fucking business associates gave him the nickname the con man. Now, for other businessmen who basically, to get where they have got to, have had to con the shit out of people to
Yeah,
make them believe that their product is the best product. No other product. They have to con you to believe that. They are con men. They are professional fucking con men.
yeah.
For
But
other con men to nickname a con man the con man speaks fucking volumes. So who better to have in that seat to convince everybody that someone's in the seat that's against fucking Rothschilds than the ultimate Rothschilds fucking puppet.
Yeah.
That's why he's known as the con man. He admitted liking wrong in that speech.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Conned everybody. Everyone's like, but he isn't responsible for putting kids in cages. Obama's son.
Yeah.
He could have quite easily ended it, but what did he? No, he didn't end it. He extended it. Probably about the only thing that Obama bought in that he didn't get rid of and fucking made bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, and he just built bigger cages as well, apparently.
This is the thing. The thing is, people forget there's been thousands of kids from these detention centres that have mysteriously vanished.
Yeah.
And you've got all these Trump supporters and shit that must believe that they clicked the heels 3 times and magically fucking transported home or something.
Yeah.
They can't work out that every kid in that detention centre is absolutely terrified. There is no more terrified kid than a child that is separated from their parents, yet alone a child separated from their parents in a fucking cage in a country that they don't understand the language.
Yeah.
So where do you think these adrenochrome factories are, people?
Mm-hmm.
That's potent adrenochrome before they've even got the filthy, dirty, evil, disgusting hands on them. They've already got shitloads of adrenaline pumping through the blood while they're in the fucking centres. As
That's
soon as
what
they get
gets
the
me.
twisted hands on them, that fucking adrenochrome is going to be potent as fuck.
That's what gets me. People will say like, "Oh, he's flooding the tunnels. It's all going to stop and all this," and it's like, well, no, they've just changed how they do it. Like those centres, they
Yeah,
need to get access to kids there, but you think they're rescued,
yeah.
and I don't think the tunnels are all being flooded either.
What the fuck? Tunnels are being created
Yeah,
when they move everybody into the fucking planet.
yeah,
Like rest of planets, like my spirit was one about our rest of planets are fucking slave planets, and everybody's inside the planets.
yeah,
It's the only, when you think about it, it's the only way you can enslave an entire species. You can't enslave an entire species and have them out in the open. They have to be contained. And the only thing that's big enough to contain this entire species is the planet that we fucking live on. But to contain us, we need to be inside the planet, not on it.
mm. So, what do you think they've got planned? What do you think's coming?
And first of all, it's all this facial recognition bollocks in it and fucking cashless society and that.
Yeah, they've got a few cameras up going around, up by around you, haven't they?
Down in Eastwood.
Yeah, that looks a bit
What I think they're
worrying.
doing with that, I've noticed them, and they seem to be putting them up in immigrant populated areas.
Ah,
Now, their excuse will be, oh, it's because of high crime areas, which they might very well be. But as soon as people turn around and say, okay, that's acceptable then.
mm-hmm.
That is
And,
not against their human rights. That is acceptable.
and
And
what
what
have
they
they
will
just
do,
done?
as soon as they say that, they have signed their own fucking agreement to have it done to them.
Yeah,
So
and
if
what
it's
have they?
acceptable for them, it's not against human rights, which means it's acceptable for all of us as well. So they're basically going to get people giving them permission to constantly surveil everybody.
Yeah,
And people will do it.
I had I heard about that Nottingham thing the other day.
Yeah.
Yesterday or something, was it? Straight away I was like, there's something up with that. And that comes down to immigrants, doesn't it? And then you've just said that there. That to me connects the dots
Exactly.
of what's really going on with that
Exactly.
Nottingham thing.
You can guarantee all along that area, a little bit of facial recognition going on.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's called false flag on that yet, but I'm calling it. We'll see.
Well, that's the thing. It's like that's the thing with these false flags. I think it's kind of got the wrong name because it's like with school shootings and stuff. when people didn't really get killed. Yes,
Mm.
they did. A false flag just means it was organised. It wasn't what
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
making now. It wasn't the script that they have written. They just organised it all.
yeah. It's
You know
all
what I
put
mean?
together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it means. But these kids, they do really die. They do really get shot.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
more
People
than the
do that,
people
innit?
doing it are more than likely fucking MK Ultra victims that have
Yeah,
been given that fucking oh, what do they call it? Some assassin in it.
yeah,
They have a trigger word, and they used to experiment with people, particularly with schizophrenia, and they used to basically make them have an attack, if you like, and become one of their other personalities, and then they used to take control of that personality and brainwash that personality,
yeah,
and they'd create a trigger word that would trigger that personality to come out.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And they basically train that personality to become an assassin.
yeah. I think they've done that a lot in the Middle East as well. All these ones that are getting ferried over, the men with the mobile phones. I think there's a lot of that been going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I think is responsible for all the killings and stuff that goes on.
yeah,
Okay, ultra victims.
yeah. And it's so widespread as well. People think because they haven't heard of it, then it's not. It's the minority. It's not. It really isn't. It's so ingrained in society.
It spreads through so many different purposes as well.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Oh well, should we leave it there for this video then? We're on about an hour and 20 minutes. We'll
No,
come
it is.
back maybe next week or something for part 2. We'll talk more about cults.
Sounds. Let me know.
Yeah, I will do.
No,
All
it
right.
is. I was listening, guys. I know I
Thank
probably
you for
sound like
joining us.
crazy fucking, but I'll give you my word on everything that I've said.
Yeah.
It's nothing short of a miracle that I'm even here, to be fair.
Yeah. Stephen's doing a little campaign at the minute, busking online. He's hoping to take his kids away this summer. So I will stick a donation in the description box below on YouTube, and there will also be a link on Facebook. So if you would like to listen to some of his truther songs and put a little donation in there with his PayPal,
There's a few normal
and
kind of neutral ones as well, but mixed with few
yeah.
ones.
There's lots, and I do recommend you listen to them. They are brilliant. There's poems up there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I churned them out like a fucking. That's another thing with the Asperger's. It's poetry and psychology.
Yeah,
So with everything that's going on in the world, when I combine them both together, it's a never-ending fucking supply of
yeah.
things
Just
to
keeps,
write. You know what I mean?
yeah, just keeps going. All right then. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next podcast, which will probably be next week. So bye for now.
You know it. Take care.